podcast listeners. This is Ed Franklin with the Ed Franklin No Limits podcast. Please contact me at edfranklin.nolimits@gmail.com if you'd like to be on my podcast or you know somebody that would be a good guest. I'm always looking for guests, and you're welcome to come on and talk about just about anything you want. Stay away from religion, we stay away from politics, unless it's just a piece of what we're talking about. But I try to stay away from those things just because I don't want to get involved, and you don't want to hear my opinion anyway. Still recognizing Breast Cancer Awareness Month, as you can see behind me in my hat. So important for women and men to go get checked out if they feel uncomfortable, or if they're just get your annual physical. That's the best thing to do, and to make sure you don't get affected by this. I mean, we have friends. You may be one of those people that are affected by it, and it's so bad, horrible. We don't want you to, be sick. We don't want you to have to deal with this, and so make sure you're out there getting checked. And like I said, I try for the whole month to at least acknowledge that I'm supporting the cause, and that anything that can help, prayers or anything you can help, we'd love to have you get involved in. So this is the fourth time I've started this podcast, and that generally happens when I take notes and there's so much to talk about that I want to get started off the right way. So I'm going to try to go a little slower, try to hit the points that I made. And I did take some notes because I started this yesterday, did about a 30-minute podcast and just trashed the whole thing because it was so bad. It's not always easy getting up in front of this camera. Let me rephrase that. It's always easy getting up in front of the camera, but I always want to give you information that I think is going to help you or that's relevant to something that's going on. I don't have any problem with the camera. Sometimes it's my content, right? So every podcaster, I'm sure, suffers with this. And if I had more guests are much easier because they lead me down a path, or I can lead them down a path one way or the other. So yesterday I posted a picture of me from a Snapchat filter of my head on top of a bodybuilder. And it looked cool, right? Kind of when I first saw it, I'm like, damn, that's what I'd look like if I worked out like that. Well, most of you know that's not me. And obviously, because there's no tattoos. And plus, he's got a different body than me. So, and I posted it online last night because I thought it would be funny to see what kind of reaction I got. And I got all kinds of reactions, right? I got a lot of funny things back. Ed, we didn't know you worked out so hard. Well, because I do work out, but I don't work out like that. I don't eat like that. And I'm not that age. I got some funny things that, hey, you forgot to put the tattoos in. I said, that's the point. The whole point of it was that it's an illusion. So, social media can be this huge illusion. And we don't know. My mom used to tell me that believe half of what you see and nothing of what you hear. And I think I'll change that for her and say, believe nothing of what you see and nothing of what you hear on social media, unless you're absolutely sure, 100% sure that it's real. Right. So I posted this picture. If people didn't know me and I just posted this all over the world, it's photoshopped good enough that somebody would probably just look at it and say it was a bad picture, but you can see the substance of the picture. But the fact is, it's a lie. It's not me. It's just like these people that come out and say things, these, money gurus and real estate gurus and exercise gurus and diet gurus that come out and give you that magic pill that can fix your body in 6 weeks, 8 weeks. You can take this potion, and if you drink it, all your body fat will go away. I'd love if that was true. It's not true. I know that's not true, but it's enticing, right? So what's social media trying to do to us? What has the world become where we don't even know if news is true? There's so many outlets and things coming in and going out. We don't even know what's going on. Now, it could have been the same way when I was a kid, but we had a lot less channels on TV. We didn't have, we had the radio and TV basically. We didn't have social media, of course. So we didn't have this stuff coming in. And you're really being cyberbullied is the reality of this whole thing. They talked a lot about it in schools. I went to a seminar for my 8-year-old granddaughter a few weeks ago, and they talked about cyberbullying and how these predators try to get a hold of kids through gaming ports and things like that. And it's really disgusting and sickening. But, as a kid growing up in this time, I have to imagine that they think a lot of what they're seeing is true. that they have these. It's funny because you'll ask my grandson, and he's told me at one time he wanted to be a YouTuber, when he gets older, because there's this guy that's making $200,000 a month, one guy. And it could be true that he's doing that, but kids don't have the ability to formulate that that's one person out of, 4 billion, 5 billion people on this earth. So back to the social media thing, I was talking to my son yesterday, and we were talking about looking for work, and how these employers have gotten to a point where everything's electronic, and they're looking for keywords, and they're looking for, when they're scanning your resume, they're looking for keywords and algorithms and things like that, and they're not interviewing people. And it's kind of such a facade that they're just putting this out there. They're missing out on some of the best employees. Like me, if I had the opportunity to sit down and talk with a lot of these companies, two things would happen. They would make up their mind if I was a good fit, and I'd make up their mind if they were a good fit for me. But apparently they're getting so many applications, it's impossible to do. It's not impossible to do. They've ruined the way you look for employment anymore, and they're ending up hiring off of a piece of paper rather than hiring a person that could really benefit their company. But look at the dating world out there with this cyber dating and all this stuff too. It's the same way, and they make jokes about the picture that you see online versus the person that shows up to your door. I mean, we're just being, run through the mill with these Facebook posts and how everybody's got a perfect life. And then you'll have somebody might post something that's real, and you're like, I don't think that's true. Probably the ones that say they have a perfect life are the ones that aren't true, but that's not for me to say. I don't know those people. I use social media for a couple things. I celebrate my family when something good happens. I stay in touch with friends from the past. I stay in touch with people. I have friends from all over the world that, they'll put information out there that what they did that day or what they did last week or a vacation that they took. And I love that. It's kind of like having a nice conversation from afar, and I don't have to necessarily spend time talking to them or vice versa. So what my concern with all this is, of course, is for children and adults as well, that we're kind of being sold an information that's not good information, right? It's kind of starting us to make us look at ourselves differently. Now, when I go to the gym and I work out, I'm by far have the body that I, have in my mind, or that I'd like to have. And the older I get, gets a little bit more difficult. But I continue to get told that this is the way you should look and things it should be, and that's not reality. On Saturday, I was at a Poway High School, where I went to high school, alumni association golf tournament, and saw a lot of friends from high school, a lot of people I didn't know that went to Poway High. Just a lot of different, kind of a big variety of people, guys and girls. And we all looked like our age. I mean, nobody was stood out to be perfect, or some people had lost weight, some people gained weight. By this point in your life, you've been through enough crap in your life. You don't care about the clicks. Although I did notice that a couple people kind of fell back into that, which was just found that interesting. That they were still acting like they did in high school, and maybe still not talking to certain people because of the clique they grew up in. It was actually kind of humorous to watch 60-plus-year-old people and 60-minus-year-old people kind of fall back into those same cliques. But it's important we don't let the social media do this to our children, where they're giving them this this is how much money you have to have, and this is a car you have to drive, and this is a body you have to have, and this is the lipstick and the teeth, and it's advertising, of course, just like it was when we were kids. But just we're bombarded with it. I mean, it's just a barrage of how you should look and how you should feel and what your orientation should be sexually and what your gender should be, and all these different things that we're getting bombarded with, and who you should vote for and who you shouldn't. And although we had it when we were kids, it was minuscule compared to the way it is now. We're just bombarded with it now. And like I said, we're being cyberbullied and being told what to buy, what to do, all these things. And it used to just be, I guess it was easier to take when it was just manipulated by marketing people, but now it's everybody on earth is doing it on social media. So you have to kind of start thinking once in a while, what's your reality? What is real in your life that can affect, where you're going? I mean, just by virtue of this podcast here, I come on here and I talk positively about what you can do with your life, how you can get over limitations, how you can do all those things. But I want to make it really clear. If you have a life that's good in your eyes, in your mind, in your reality, you're happy with that, and you don't have any limitations to get over, that's up to you. I'm not telling you have to change your life. I'm offering you a possibility that you can do it on your own. And a lot of it has to do with what's in your mind. So as we're seeing these people on social media telling us how we should be, what are you telling yourself you have to be? Are you happy with where you're at physically? Are you happy with where you're at mentally? You know, we have a lot of problems in the world, and more so over the last couple of years with COVID, and we had a major election, and we have different sides of the political sides are so just trashing each other. And as we get closer to November, we're seeing more of that locally. And it's just this hatred that just is, I just get so sick of it. I just don't know why we have to do everything on um, such a negative way. Last week I had a podcast and I talked about one of the council members in Poway. Just stop with the mudslinging, run a positive campaign. How often do you see that where people are giving accolades to the person they're running against and then giving a reason why they might be better? How horrible is that? I swear, I think that's the way to run a campaign. And I think it would be just, um, I think it would just be so much better for someone to run a positive campaign. I have a note down here that says, what are you seeing in the mirror every day? Is that reality or is that Facebook, or is that your Facebook reality? I know many of you come onto Facebook and you're very honest, and I see a couple of my friends, they talk about their grandchildren a lot. They get an opportunity to spend a lot of time with their grandchildren. It's the most wonderful thing in the world to see them out doing activities. We do the same thing. We go for a bike ride. We'll post where we're at, how we rode by. It's just fun. But how many people are in a lot of pain that are coming on Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat, whatever, and telling us that they're not having any pain? We know that's not true. We have suicide rates are at the highest they've been in forever, I think. So we know there's a lot of people with pain out there, and I think that Facebook and these social media platforms are not helping that, because they're feeling like they're not living up to what they're seeing on these social media platforms, when in actuality the social media platforms are bullshit. Most of them are fake. I see fitness girls online that have no blemishes on their body, not one blemish on their whole entire body, right? They're probably airbrushing them or whatever. Now, I don't care if they do that. That's great, right? It's like television. It's like what's inside the box versus what's, what do I have to deal with on a daily basis? And that's okay. But what's that telling a young girl? I mean, I have 7 daughters, and just like any girls, they were insecure about their bodies and the way they looked and the size of certain pieces on their body. And, we had to deal with that individually and, and tell them, look, this is what God gave you. Some people have bigger noses, ears. I lost my hair. I don't need to go get a wig. No one's going to convince me that that's a better look for me or situation. It's just what it is, right? So you deal with what you have, and you deal with it like that. These outside influencers, and just by that title, the influencer thing is that they're these people that are going to influence you into something like the Kim Kardashians of the world. And I mean, I'm not going to get into Kim Kardashian, but look at her history. I mean, where did she come from? Is that really how you want to be successful? I got to get off that topic because we can get way off topic in there. So I guess the thing is, like, who should we be? What should we be doing to make sure that we're not being influenced by these people? Listen, I could take, if I have 100 listeners, I could take all 100 of you, and you all grew up differently. You all went through different problems. You went through different celebrations. Some of you had been married, now you're not. Then you got married again, and not. Then you get married. Whatever your pain is, Facebook should not be telling you who you are. You should be developing yourself on your own and who you want to be. We don't all buy the same color cars. I think I said that on the last podcast. We just have to try to remain as confident as we can as possible with what we have and work with what we have. And look, I can't guarantee you're not going to have any more problems in your life. In fact, I'll probably guarantee you will have more problems in your life. And you'll have to deal with those as they come. You can't, predict a lot of those things. So I guess you have to keep telling yourself, I don't know how many times it takes, when you wake up in the morning that you're good enough for where you're going. And I don't want to use that quote from Saturday Night Live that you're good enough. And that's you got to be really old to remember that. But they made a joke out of it. I'm telling you, it's reality. You really need to work on yourself, not on other people, not be influenced by this outside stuff. I'm turning the page. I'm going to back up a little bit. When I did that Snapchat, I sent it to my kids. I sent it to my oldest daughter and my son, just as a joke. And I captioned it with, if I would have taken the time to do this when I was younger, I could look like this now. And I got a really interesting text back from my son, which made me very proud of how he said it. He says, Dad, if you would have taken the time and the money away from your family to do that, to work on yourself like that, and to spend all that, taking substances that were probably bad for me and doing all those things, just think of the bond you would not have with your kids now. I mean, you took time out of your life to bond with us kids. Now you're bonding with your grandkids. You're still bonding with your kids on conversations because you put time into that. And I tell you, I was very proud to hear that because I thought it was really, it was a lot of wisdom on his part. And he's right. I mean, these guys, and I'm not criticizing the guys that spend time in the gym and spend money on that's up to them. That's what they want to do. I had a lot of children. It was incumbent upon me to spend time with them in my eyes, and I did that. Kit and I spend a lot of time together, and I appreciate that. We can never get that time back. So it was kind of an interesting reaction from him to get that because I was very surprised by that from my son, but I was proud of it too because he's growing up, and I love that he said something like that and acknowledged me too as a dad that I did spend time with that. So anyway, I posted this picture, and I'm telling you, it was just so funny the reactions I got. And I was looking on just about I'm on social media a lot because I'm advertising for Brilliant Marketing Ideas. I'm advertising the website. I'm advertising the podcast. I'm advertising for Brilliant Marketing Ideas. So I'm very interested in kind of the reactions I get on things because it helps me guide my marketing and, who those people I want to touch. And a lot of times I'll push on my history button and it'll take you back to this day, and it goes back about 10 years, I think. I've been doing this stuff and I've been posting these positive things in the morning. And the history is a good idea sometimes and sometimes not so much because I do see the kids when they were smaller. I see Carson when he was just a little guy and he's 15 now. But I also see me posting things about my progress, whether it was working out or at work and things like that. And it irritates me a little bit because my progress got stalled a bunch of times, right? Just like you, I started and stopped a million times. And I guess the lesson there is to keep starting and stopping. But one of these days you got to stop stopping, right? It's the old, you don't have to be great to start, but you got to start to be great. And like I said, sometimes the history makes me happy. Sometimes I get irritated because I'd be on a path. A few years ago, I told this story a million times. Kit and I went to a trainer and really got into the best shape that we were in a long time, probably since we were very young. And it's kind of irritating that we kind of let things get away from us. Now, I'm not 600 pounds now, but I'm definitely not where I was at the end of that, at the end of 2019. And I'd love to get back to that. And it's going to take some work for us to get back, and we're committed to it. It's just like you. We don't want it to take 6 months. We want it to take 6 hours, right? But so talking about that, I post these things every morning, try to find something positive to post, and I steal them off the internet. Some people send them to me. That's kind of cute when they do that. People send them to me and say, Ed, you should post this on your thing more. And I do when they do that, and I appreciate them doing that for me. And I tell you, there's times I just want to post anything. I'm like, I don't want to do it today. I don't want to find anything. But inevitably, someone will text me or mention on my Facebook post that they really appreciated the fact that I posted that because they really needed that today. And of course, I didn't know what situation they're in. I don't know anything about it. That's all they'll say about it. But I appreciate when they do that, and I'm glad that I posted it then, right? Because I want them to. I hope it helped them that day, just to kind of see through the muck. Man, it's not easy getting out of bed every day, right? You guys all know that, and some days we just need a little push, and some days we just don't feel like doing anything. We don't feel like going to the gym. We don't feel like looking for a job. We don't feel like doing any of these things. But we got to go up. We got to get up and just drive through it. We got to drive through the pain, drive through whatever we're going through right in that minute. You know, this whole podcast ultimately is going to be about helping the people that are listening, right? Or helping me too. It's therapy for me as much as it is for you, and just helping you get to that next level, and telling you that there is no magic pill. Um, it's funny when I hear business coaches talk about how they can help you turn your business around and this and that. Listen, you guys already know how to do your business, unless you're in your 20s and you need some of that experience or knowledge. We're here for that. I'm definitely here for that. If you ever want to be on my podcast to talk about that, I'm totally on board with that. But most of you that are 40 to 70 years old, you know your business. You're probably struggling with more limitations within yourself than you are in business, or you're struggling with your picture of yourself, your self-esteem. We've talked about storytelling a lot, and I'll do another podcast on storytelling soon, because I think it's super big to pick that story we want to tell ourselves, and not the story that Facebook is telling us or Instagram is telling us. We need to be coming up with our own story and make our own social media in our mind. And we don't need to go out and broadcast it every 2 goddamn minutes either. We need to use it as fire in our belly. And I brought up something that I was going to talk more about. One of the campaign guys. Well, my camera just went out of focus, but I don't want to get into that politics stuff. But I'll tell you this much about it. What I'm not seeing, and the only reason I talk about Poway is I'm close to Poway, and I know I lived there, I grew up there, and I know a lot of the people that are in this mix of people. I know them personally. I don't see any enthusiasm there. There's just like no sense of urgency. There's no fire in their bellies. There's no excitement. I've been like that my whole life, where I'm always motivated, man. We get into a situation where you got to get a job done. I just dig in, and I can get other people to dig in too. Everybody's so calm about this thing, like they're so adamant about the other people being horrible, and then they just lay back and say, "Yeah, well, I could do better." Well, really, that's all you got? You could do better? How can you do better? They never want to tell you that. So I think maybe part of the lesson on this, besides the non-reality we see on social media on a regular basis. Excuse me, I need some water and don't have it here. I think, like I said, we need to create our own reality, not what social media is trying to tell us. And I know you all know that, but you all fall into the trap too. There's always that, that woman or that guy that maybe looks better than you did at that age, or whatever it is. There's always something society telling you you're not good enough. These people are good enough, but you're not good enough. And then you should give these people your money so you'll be good as them. And it's ridiculous. It's so funny how these gurus, these money making gurus, will come out and tell you something of how you can make money, and how they did this, and how they took advantage of this and that. And the next thing you know, they're going to jail. Terrible. Just heard of another one, and I'm not going to mention the name because I don't know if the information is true, but it seemed kind of legitimate from the source I heard it from. But I'll find out more about it and mention it later. The other thing is, I was reading something again about a poor guy that just committed suicide. Another kid, I think a college kid that was an athlete. And we had that college girl that was an athlete earlier this year committing suicide. And man, this is the worst thing. I've been close to somebody who did that, who took their own life at a young age, and it was so unnecessary. It was so it was so tragic and just makes me sick to my stomach to think about it now. And it's been some years, but it hit us hard. And uh, actually, there's more than one, but the one I'm speaking of was a neighbor, and it was it's just heart wrenching. And I think it's even worse. And I think social media is not helping it. This cyberbullying, I don't know if I mentioned this because I've started this podcast so many times. A few weeks ago, I went to my granddaughter's school and listened about cyberbullying, how these people are trying, I think I mentioned it earlier, but they're trying to take advantage of these kids through gaming courts and things. And these kids are just like little sheep. I mean, they have no clue that someone out there wants to hurt them. And we really have to, as parents and grandparents and brothers and sisters, uncles and aunts, we really need to watch this shit because it's rampant of what these people are trying to do. And we live in probably one of the capitals of human trafficking too here in town. And this is another thing, social media, the ugly side of social media too is this human trafficking. In that seminar I went to, they took a girl. This is a real person. They didn't mention her name, of course, or show her picture. But this gal from the San Diego Police Department, who's like an admin that goes around to the schools and talks to kids about this, found this girl in Texas, and she just kind of started finding out, see how much information she could find out about her. I mean, she was down to what time this kid went to bed and where her bed was in the house. That's how much information these kids are putting online and how accessible it is if you were a predator. It was really sick. It made me sick to my stomach to see that it's that easy to do. And we're careful with our kids, with the grandkids here. And I hope that my kids are careful with their children because this is, I mean, it's crazy. And kids innocently put things online that they think they're talking to a perfect person, that they know. And there's these other people have access to it. So, and there's always, like I said, this joke about dating where you date somebody online. I've never had to do that. Thank God. I don't think I could do it. I have a lot of friends that utilize that on a regular basis, which is funny to me, but I got to take a quick break, but you won't know that. Sorry about that. Had to get a drink of water and you did. But see, I can edit that out. You won't even know. But yeah, it's sickening. It's funny to me, and I don't know. It's just funny that people are dating online. They're looking at pictures and listening to people what they say and talk about. They got to be full of shit, right? I wouldn't tell everybody bad stuff about me if I was going to date somebody online. So you're probably not getting 100% information. And listen, I have some friends that have been very successful, people that are married now, that met online, and I think that's great. But back to this picture I posted. If you listen to this if you listen to this podcast and you haven't seen the picture, go back to Facebook and look at it. Man, I think I look great, dude. But I don't know. And the way I did it was so easy. It only took about 18 seconds, right? So I'm one of those guys. But of course, I don't look like that if you were here. So anyway, I know this was a pretty fast podcast. I jumped around a little bit. I just wanted to kind of talk about social media and how much BS it is. There's some good parts of it. There's some great parts of it. There's some bad pieces to it. The kids are really. I'm really worried about kids with social media because it's so accessible. And I asked my granddaughter the other day, if some of her friends have phones, and she's 9, by the way. Oh, she's 8. She'll be 9 this year. And she said they do, and I was like really surprised at that. Now they don't bring them to school. I don't think she didn't tell me they brought them to school, but I can tell you this: that the reason my kids had cell phones when they were in, I think, junior high and high school, is my oldest daughter was playing basketball one year, and I got a call from her. Like, she came back from a game on a bus, and I had to pick her up at Poway High like at 10 o'clock at night. It's pitch black up at Poway High. There's no lights on. I pull up and she's standing outside by herself, just right there by herself. Now, thank God, one of the moms and their daughter had stayed there with her and waited until I got there. And I was maybe 10 minutes away. And I was so mad when I got there. I was like, where's the coach? And so he left. And I was so angry about that Maybe the mom told him she'd stay or something like that, but I immediately got her a phone and said, "Look, call me when you're on the bus. Call me, 10, and I'll be there when the bus gets there." And as we started thinking about it, at the time, it was really a safety feature for our kids. It wasn't something we had to, they had to have, and social media wasn't as big back then. It was just kind of getting started. But we were those people, and we still do it with our kids today. If they leave the house, we want them to text us when they get home, just to make sure I do it with my wife. I'll text her and say, "Hey, I made it here." If I'm driving to LA or something, just to let her know, a little peace of mind. But boy, has this turned into something that's just out of this world. And here people are getting fired in in the NFL and NBA and all these places for doing bad texts or texting something. And, you know, it's just gotten crazy. It's a whole nother piece of this world that wasn't around when we were kids. And I'm glad it wasn't around when we were kids. Do I use it I use it in a positive way, and I love it. I love technology. I just got a new phone, and the thing is just it's out of this world how what the thing can do. So anyway, if you check out my picture, it's not me. You probably know that when you see it, but it was fun. The responses were fun to get, and just goes to show you that you never know what you're getting on social media, and you need to be really careful in business, especially if you're meeting somebody. This Craigslist shit the stuff that goes on with that, and selling stuff on Facebook, and I know it all seems super innocent, but you're all pretty smart. You know it's not. But anyway, keep posting positive stuff on Facebook. Keep contacting me if you want. You can contact me at edfranklin.nolimits@gmail.com. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, or somebody who's be a guest, keep supporting Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and let's make sure that our friends and family are aware and they get out there to the doctor and get checked out. And not just for breast cancer, for anything else you might be feeling uncomfortable with. Um, I appreciate you guys listening. Please share my podcast when you get an opportunity. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm doing some new things with some programs that'll be coming up, and hopefully it's going to get me more listeners. So if you have any ideas for my show, send me an email. Hit me up on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, wherever you got to go. Hit me up. I appreciate you. Have a great weekend, and I'll have another podcast next week. Hopefully it'll be something fun.